Today, I am delighted to speak with the head coach of the University of Arkansas men's rugby team, Lance Cummings. The University of Arkansas is located in Fayetteville, Arkansas, in Northwest Arkansas. Welcome, Coach Lance.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you with us. To get started, can you tell us a little bit about your background and your tenure at the University of Arkansas?
Yeah, so I'm an Arkansan through and through. I was born and raised kind of watching the Razorbacks play, and then for those that don't know, that's the official mascot for the University of Arkansas, the Razorbacks. Played high school rugby here in the state of Arkansas, and I had a lot of high performance opportunities. Got to go to really cool camps all through high school, and decided to go to the University of Arkansas with a bunch of my friends. They were kind of an up and coming program with this new South African coach that was taken over, and had a great 4 year run at the University of Arkansas. We finished number three in the country in D1AA in back to back years, and went on to do some military service, played club rugby. For a while after that, hung my boots up in 2021, and Coach Fife, who was that up and coming South African coach when I went up to college, still running the program, asked me to come out and help with the forwards. And so understudied him for a few years until he decided to retire last season, and have been running the program ever since.
Can you tell me a little bit about the program itself, how long it has existed, and what division you play in?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll start with how long it's existed because it's kind of a fun story. We're actually the longest tenured club on campus. So we've been around since 1971. We have 50 plus years of alumni. The women's program started in 1976, so they're actually about to hit their 50-year anniversary. We're a club sport on campus, so we're not a typical varsity program, though. We approach the sport, we approach the mentality as student athletes, and trying to compete for a national championship, and trying to create the most achievable memories that we can. And so everything is about building meaningful relationships, building trust with each other and influence with each other, and trying to achieve the memories that 10 and 20 years from now we can reflect on and be proud of, and understanding that those memories don't just create themselves when you're in the moment for the memory. That's not when you're creating that memory. It's the work you put in beforehand, the relationships you build beforehand, and how you get there through the journey.
When is the University of Arkansas rugby season, and do you play both 15s and sevens?
Yeah, so we compete at the D1AA level in the Heart of America Conference. So we'll compete against teams like Iowa State, Missouri, KU, Kansas State. KU is Kansas, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, University of Health Science and Pharmaceuticals, Wayne State College. The list keeps going because we have about 12 teams in our conference now that are all really, really competitive. So it's a great league. We'll play our 15s competition for our conference all in the fall. So between the months of early September through late November. Our championships for our division are actually in the spring, but we have to play all of our matches in the fall because we have some teams in our northern division that can't play in the winter months just because of how cold it gets, and field availability. So play all of our matches in the fall. We'll crown our champion for the conference in the fall. And then the spring is either keeping our primary side that's progressed to nationals ready to go for the championship run, which will be at the end of the spring. And that's usually going to entail at least two matches in knockout rounds. Or it's focused on developing the side for the next season. And so either way, we will play 15s in the spring. It just won't be for cut matches. It'll be for keeping our team ready to go, or developmental purposes. We've gone through a little bit. Sevens championships for our division are also in the late spring, and so we've gone through a little bit of a identity journey over the last 3 or 4 years, trying to balance how much 15s we want to play in the spring versus how much sevens we want to play in the spring. We do compete with two sides in 15s, and when we have a heavy sevens focus, we lose a lot of our bigger guys that really need the reps and practice year round to hone in on their skills. And so the sweet spot that we've landed on from an identity perspective is we're a 15s team that will go compete in sevens when it's time for sevens. And so we'll have about a 1 month span that we start specifically training for sevens, and we'll do maybe a couple training sevens tournaments before we go to actually compete for our conference sevens championship. But we're going to predominantly play 15s year round.
Great. The season that's upcoming, what would you say are your goals for this season?
Yeah, so our history of our program, we've had a very successful history, especially under Coach Fife. I'd say about over the last decade, we've been nationally competitive at the D1AA level, usually a top 10 team. But between the years of 2012 and 2019, we made sevens nationals every year. So we've got a very good history on the sevens front, and we've produced players that have cracked into professional pathways from there. COVID hit, and we kind of had to build from the ground up again as a club sport program. And so I've got a bunch of seniors this coming up year that were part of that group that really rebuilt the team from the ground up. And so we've got a core roster of about 50 players, including the guys that we've got coming in this fall. And we've seen steady progress from once COVID hit, really struggling to compete with the teams that we normally competed very well against to, last year, every match that we played was down to the wire. And the difference was a few mental mistakes or a few just misses on a tackle or something of that nature that were things that we can fix and things that we can build upon. So the goal for this year should be continual progression. And as a team, we don't like setting defined goals, and so we won't walk into the season and say, this is the conference championship that we're going to win. We're going to win it this season, or this is the season that we're going to go to nationals. Something I've really been working to establish with the team is let's identify values that make up our identity and lead to success. And let's follow those values and the goals that maybe that we thought were goals beforehand just become achievements along the journey as we live the values that we want to represent.
That's a great way to look at it. When you look at your rugby week and your season, what does it typically look like? Your training schedule, lifting schedule, playing schedule, how does that happen in a week, in a normal week?
Yeah, absolutely. So because we have such a quick ramp up in the fall, we literally have guys going through classes, 3 weeks of classes before our first match, and then our first league match is the weekend after that. We'll actually do a 5-day training camp the week before classes start, and so all the freshmen are already on campus. Their activities are during the normal day. So we'll do a 5-day training camp, and the last day usually ends in a team social, where we'll do some good bonding. And then once classes start, it turns for the fall specifically a 3 practice day week. So we'll train on Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Monday and Wednesday being a lot of our more skill-based training, with Thursday being kind of our full field contact mixed in, strategy mixed in, preparing for our next match. When it comes to weightlifting, we partner with some of our academic programs like sports science and physical therapy programs and things of that nature to kind of help us in season. And so we're actually doing this really cool thing at the start of this fall where they're going to measure all of our players' force output, and then put them on a maintenance weightlifting program that aligns with our rugby schedule, and then measure their force output again at the end of the fall season to see if the maintenance program that they were on still increased their levels of strength and their level of explosion. And so during the in season, it's maintenance, and partnering with some academic programs to help us be creative in how we're maintaining our strength and excelling. During the off season, we have really two sprints. One is summer, and one is winter, and given a few weeks off for the guys to enjoy themselves, rest their bodies, recover, because 10 to 12 weeks straight of rugby can take a toll. So give a few weeks off, but then we have a good 8-week chunk that we want the the guys to beef up and put a layer of protection on their body. Guys stepping up from school grade rugby into collegiate rugby, the bodies are much larger, the hits are a little bit harder, and so you've got to grow. And a lot of 18-year-olds stepping on the college campuses still very much with boy bodies, and so you got to put some intention behind growing your body. And so those 8 week periods, we're monitoring it, and that's where the relationship building comes in. I don't have a scholarship to hold over your head. We're not a varsity program, but we all want to achieve the same goal. We all want to achieve the memories that we want to reflect on. And so, putting in the work and influencing your mates to put in the work, and we track those. We track those workouts through those 8 week periods and reward the guys that committed, and the guys that didn't committed have stuff to prove when they step on campus.
I love that you're partnering with the academic programs. I'm sure that for the sports science kids, the rugby team will be just the best experiment that they do to be able to track that and have real athletes that they're working with. That'll be fabulous.
Oh yeah.
So let's take a moment and shift gears. Let's talk about recruiting. Can you tell us about your recruiting process, what you look for in a recruit, and what gets your attention and what keeps your attention?
Yeah. So my recruiting process, essentially, we've got two different kind of players that make up our team. We've got the player that comes from a rugby background, that played rugby in high school or grade school, and they're looking to continue playing their rugby career. The other side, really the other half of our team are crossover athletes, guys that played varying sports, and I've got a funny concept that I think basketball players make the best crossover athletes to rugby, but that's another conversation. When it comes to rugby backgrounds, I'm looking for kind of two primary things, and I identify a lot of players either going to actual rugby events, so rugby tournaments, sevens tournaments, 15s matches, where I can to kind of connect with players, connect with coaches. We did use Next Phase Rugby for a while, but our information is out there, and so it's kind of going to those camps, and then any players that proactively reach out to us that show interest in coming to the University of Arkansas. But from a playing standpoint, the one thing that I look after is highlight tapes are great. Scoring a try looks cool, big hits look cool. It's good to validate that you can do those things. And so I would say don't not make a highlight tape, because that's validation that if you're put on the spot, you can make the tackle. If you're put on the spot to score a try, you can go score that try. But after I've validated you can do those things, and when you're looking at high performance teams, I want to see what you're doing when you don't have the ball. And so give me your full match tape. I would love to see that. I would love to see the way that you're thinking, the way you're reading the game when the ball is, 3 or 4 people away from you, to put yourself in position to score the try, or enable someone else to score the try, or how you're folding on defense and matching the IQ of the attack against you. And so those are the things I look for more from a playing perspective. And I tell my guys, as a coach, I value 1,000% more the guy that set you up for a try than the person that put the ball down. From a person and a personality and just a human standpoint, I need someone that can project good intent and project positivity. Rugby is so relationship based, and so based in your camaraderie that you have with your mates. And so someone that is kind of reclusive, that doesn't really do well in rugby, they have to come out of their box. Someone that is focused on the wrong things, is focused on partying too much, is looking just to go have a fun time at college. That's great. We do have fun. There's times for that, but if you project too much of it, it can ignite a flame of culture within your team that you don't want to cascade onto the next layer of players. And so I'm looking for someone that can project positivity into the rest of the team, is someone that can solve the problem no matter what the problem is in front of them, and really just builds that relationship with everyone around them and cultivates positivity.
It always amazes me when I speak with coaches how much of what they look for in recruits isn't what they do with the ball. It's who they are as a person. So thank you for sharing that. But with respect to international players, how do you view international players? What role do you see for them at the University of Arkansas?
Yeah, so I think every every best version of our team has had at least two or three international players involved in it, and it's not that the American players don't have the capacity to play the best version of rugby that University of Arkansas can play. And it's not that the coaches aren't developing the players either. Coach Fife did a phenomenal job as a coach, developed a lot of American-born players into really, really, really good players. And I'm working to do the same with my American-born players. But the pace that an international player plays at and how quickly they can make a read and enable and kind of teach and guide how to run off of them and how to be creative within your own structure enhances the speed that everyone around them picks it up. So I can coach it, I can put you in the situation over and over again. But unless you're watching rugby as much as you can, unless you have someone there with you that is playing that speed that helps you connect the dots to the next level of your own creativity, of your own IQ, it's hard to get there without 1,000 reps of playing rugby. And in this space, we've got a lot of guys that played a little bit of high school, and now they're at the point where matches matter, and they've got about 6 matches to figure it out over the span of a semester. And so having international players, just one or two of them, injects a whole nother level of pace, a whole nother level of chemistry that the guys take with them for the rest of their career.
Right. I often tell players that it is ultimately the university that makes decisions about admissions and scholarships. Could you tell us a little bit about the merit and rugby scholarships that exist at the University of Arkansas?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got one kind of waiver system that works for most players, and then we've also got a rugby specific scholarship that's more nominal. But our biggest kind of academic feeder is what we call the non-resident tuition advantage program. If you Google NRTA UARK or Arkansas, it should be one of the first results that come up. That mainly applies to the continental U.S. And Hawaii. And so surrounding states get, if they have a 3.8 GPA, they get 90% of the difference between their out-of-state tuition and their in-state tuition waived. That goes all the way down to 3.2 GPA, where it's, I think, 60%. Those are for surrounding states, including Illinois, and then also including Georgia. Every state in the U.S. gets some degree of a waiver. So if you have a 3.6, you get 80% waived. If you have a 3.2, you get 50% waived. And just kind of what that looks like is in-state tuition. Last time I checked for a full academic year is around 8,000 US dollars. Out of state tuition for a full academic year is around $24,000. And so an 80% or 90% waiver is $10,000 to $12,000 immediately taken off, not including any scholarships that you would get on top of that. For international, there's a similar program, but it doesn't apply to any major rugby playing countries. It does apply to Caribbean countries, and so we have made attempts to connect with different Caribbean youth programs and national programs around. Hey, if you have someone that has their academics aligned correctly, they do get tuition help to come to the U.S. And so Caribbean, Panama, as well as Rwanda fall within that. So that's our waiver, and then we actually have a rugby scholarship. It's in memorandum of an alumni named Paul Roth. So it's our Paul Roth Memorial Scholarship. It's a $1,000 scholarship that we give out annually. Not a major scholarship, but $1,000 helps with books. It helps with something. Outside of that, I think the interest in the university is going to be have to be purely academic, and the player is going to need to have a good academic and a good just overall college fit if they want to pursue the University of Arkansas.
Thank you for that. If we switch gears again, let's talk about women's rugby for a minute. I know that you also have a women's rugby. You're not the coach of the women's rugby team, but there is a women's rugby team at the University of Arkansas. Could you give us a little bit of an insight to that team?
Yeah, women's rugby is incredible at the University of Arkansas. Their head coach is a gentleman named Jason Ayers. He's been involved in rugby for decades. Is an amazing human, and has put a lot of his heart into the women's program and where it is right now. Once again, it's been around since 1976. The alumni for the women are heavily engaged and support women's rugby as a whole. But they're growing over. They've made nationals and sevens for the last 2 years, and had a lot of good success at nationals last year when they went to DC for the annual collegiate rugby championship, sevens championship. So they're growing. They've got a lot of interest. Both of our teams, the men's and women's programs, have very close relationship with our local club teams. So our local men's and our local women's club teams, and they help put us out on the pedestal of the community and help us develop each other, and kind of iron sharpens iron. So can't talk enough about our women's program. They play 15s and sevens as well, primarily sevens, mainly because a lot of teams in the region struggle to produce numbers for consistent 15s play. But the women's team here does have numbers for 15s, and so they're trying to build and they're trying to recruit players in as well.
That's great to hear. I'm always happy when I hear about women's rugby, well, any rugby flourishing, but women's rugby in particular, as it is, if men's rugby is developing, then women's rugby is also considered a developing sport. So it's nice to see that it is growing. I have
Absolutely.
two questions left for you. If we look at the University of Arkansas from an academic perspective, what do you think that the university is known for? What are the standout departments or majors that people should be aware of?
Yeah, so first off, University of Arkansas is a major college. We've got a student body of 30,000 plus. So you're stepping into a major campus, a major university feel, and the entire town kind of revolves around what the college is doing. So it's a college town. We have any kind of major you could think of, and as a graduate of the University of Arkansas, I would say every major is very well supported, and you're getting an accredited degree that's recognized across the globe. I would say we have really three big pillars, though, that attract a lot of people. One's going to be our engineering school. Any kind of engineering you can think of, we pretty much have a degree line for it, and it's very well supported. We've opened up several new buildings dedicated to our engineering school. So very tough degree lines, but it's world renowned for our engineering school. Second, or I think second overall would be our architecture school, our Fay Jones School of Architecture. One of the best architecture schools in the entire country, and a lot of their graduates actually design a lot of the buildings around campus. And so we have a lot of really cool design buildings on campus, and we've been a college in Arkansas since the 19th century. So we've got buildings that date back to then, that were architected by graduates of the school, and then newer buildings that were architected by the graduates of the school. So you get a lot of modern mixed in with classical, and it's a really cool campus on that front. And then probably our most renowned program, if anyone's familiar with Walmart as a corporation, they own a lot of different acquisitions like Mass Mart through the country of Africa, and they've got a stakeholder in ASDA, so a lot of corporate connections globally. But their headquarters are based in actual Northwest Arkansas, and so we have a school of business, the Walton College School of Business. So any business, finance, accounting, economics majors. One of the best schools in the world for it, with a lot of great MBA connections, a lot of great corporate connections for postgraduates. Yeah, one of the best business colleges in the world.
That's super. The last question I have for you is a little bit broader. If you could tell us just a little bit or paint a picture of the area in which the college is located, and the surrounding community? What kind of a place would someone be going if they were to attend the University of Arkansas?
Absolutely. So, Arkansas the University of Arkansas is located in a region called Northwest Arkansas, just northwest portion of the state. Arkansas as a state, for anyone that's kind of unfamiliar with the geography of the United States, is a little bit to the northeast of Texas. It's considered part of the South for the United States. Arkansas, the campus and the region that we're located has more of a Midwest America feel, but it's in a mountain range called the Ozarks, so we're nestled in the middle of the mountains. There's no big city, so there's kind of a metropolis area between Fayetteville and a city called Bentonville, which is about 30 miles north. But none of those are big cities. They're all kind of charming downtown areas, surrounded by suburban kind of housing areas, and then the outdoors. And so I like to go fly fishing every chance that I get. Northwest Arkansas is kind of the self-proclaimed mountain biking capital of the world, and so a lot of great mountain biking trails. They've invested a lot into kind of eco-friendly travel, and so we have a bike trail called the Razorback Greenway that actually goes from Fayetteville all the way north to Bentonville, going through every single downtown and then through hills and the woods. And a lot of city planning commissions have invested a lot of their projects into connecting every community that they can in their town to that greenway. And so Fayetteville actually is over the 80% mark of every neighborhood having some kind of trail connection to that Razorback Greenway. So very, very outdoor focused. And you can imagine being the home of Fortune 500 companies like Walmart and Tyson and several others. There's a lot of investment into the community. We bring some of the great, any traveling concert that's going through the country somehow ends up in Northwest Arkansas. We have one of the best museums and art displays in the country in Crystal Bridges that's kind of supported by the family that owns Walmart. So it's one of the last kind of hidden gem areas of North America where cost of living is not outrageous yet. There's not a lot of crime at all, and it's just everyone's kind of enjoying their best life and experiencing all that the world has to offer.
It's funny that you said hidden gem because those were the words that were in my head. It just
Yeah,
sounds absolutely idyllic. Thank you so much for sharing with us today your rugby program, a bit of insight to the University of Arkansas, the Fayetteville area, all of it. So thank you very much for sharing that with us, and I will look forward to great things from you in the season to come.
sounds good. Woo Pig Sooie.